Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. Welcome to BCS 106, Coaching Leaders. Hopefully everybody's in the right place or where you want to be. I'm excited to be here. My name is Rick Larkin. I'm currently serving as a unit commissioner in the Old Ephraim District in the crossroads of the West Council. I have served in a variety of commissioner positions as well as non-commissioner positions during my scouting career. The only part of scouting that I actually haven't served in is in the Cub Scouts. My wife was in there. Unless it counts if I helped her when she was serving as Cub Master and such. But other than that, I've been around a little while and excited to be here today and share this course with you. And even though they call me the instructor, I feel like we're going to learn together. So please, as we're continuing and go through, feel free to share. We have Jen Harris and Pedro Rincon, who are with us today as helpers with the class. They're going to help monitor the chat and bring up any questions that might come up appropriately, or they'll yell at me and get my attention if I need to pay attention to what something someone has said during the course. So our goals today. At the end of the training, we should be able to recognize the importance of coaching, employ coaching methods to address different situations that we might run into. Because as commissioners, we are going to run into a variety of situations depending on the leaders in the unit, the units that we're working with, and even in other situations in the district or with chartered organizations, and then evaluate options for resolutions of any issues that we run into. So at the end of the course, we're going to come back and see if we were able to achieve those objectives today. So to start, what is coaching? And I'm going to open this up for just a minute. I'm going to turn on annotations. I'm going to take some notes. Normally we do a whiteboard. So I'm just going to note down here as we go through. I think everyone should be able to see that. So volunteer, speak up what is coaching?
This is Rick Donk. I think one of the biggest things of coaching is just encouraging, recognizing positive things and commenting and encouraging and complimenting.
This is John. I'd say also just like providing, guidance, that's just suggestions without being overbearing.
Yay.
Also being available, so if they have any questions, you can help them answer those questions and give them resources.
Yeah, this is Jeff Lakomsky. Mentoring, I think, would be the one that covers most of it.
Yeah.
Know the needs for whom you're coaching.
I think it's being a compass for them to give them help, direction on where they need to go.
Yep.
Similar to encouraging, but motivating, I think, is a word that comes to mind when I think of coaching.
Okay, motivating. Any others? I do apologize for any misspellings. I've noticed that I think my batteries are towards the end of life in my keyboard, and occasionally it is not catching keystrokes. So apologize.
I think a coach is a director.
A director. Okay. All excellent ideas and thoughts about what coaching is. We compliment, provide guidance, mentoring. I love that. Is another way of saying coaching. Know the needs of the coachee. Critically important. We're going to talk about the need to build a trust with the individuals we're coaching with, and part of that is and part of the coach mindset is observe, know their need, get to know them. It's been said many times is that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and that definitely applies in the realm of coaching. Love that. We develop in the chat, Mary put in that we're developing a partnership with these individuals. I think that's critically important as well. So a lot of great feedback here on coaching. Love that. So let's look at what the syllabus tells us about coaching. And I think all of these are correct. So coaching and developing others, these are some things that we do, and what coaching is, what coaching can accomplish. It clarifies performance. And so that is that we as a coach, we seek information, this getting to know the needs of your coachee, as someone mentioned earlier. We seek information and opinions about their current performance, what's going on, as well as long-term development needs. And I think it's important in our last class with Rich, and we talked about, the long-term goal. The new unit commissioner needs to have that long-term goal. I think as coaches, we need to have a longer-term goal. Sometimes the people we're coaching and it fall into this, and we can as well. We focus on the now, and we lose sight of a little bit the tomorrow and the day after that. So as we're coaching, we're aiming towards a goal in the future, and we want to help these individuals achieve those goals. So we clarify their performance. We, as a coach, provide timely feedback. Much like when I read that, I think of my children when they were growing up. And if we didn't provide feedback to them really close to the activity or the action where we needed to provide feedback on, it really didn't connect. And so the same thing applies when we're coaching, is the feedback for those that we want to coach. It needs to be timely. The information that we would provide, the feedback, may lose relevance relatively quickly. And so it's important that be timely and that it's appropriate. And as we provide that feedback, we want to do the feedback about their performance and how they're developing and other things that are going on, so that they can then act upon them and build upon it. Another thing we would do as a coach is to convey performance expectations and implications. In our last, I keep thinking back to that course that we just had with Rich about new units. And this even applies in existing units. Leaders sometimes don't know what they don't know. And so as a coach, one of our responsibilities is to help bring to them the scouting, what scouting is, what are the expectations of the position an individual is serving in, and what the expectations are of someone who is trying to help young men and young women achieve the aims of scouting. So we want to be able to convey that to them. As a coach, evaluating skill gaps, again, talking out, people don't know what they don't know. So as a coach, one of the things we can do is evaluate those. Where are the gaps in knowledge or experience or skills that might be contributing to the underlying behavior or situation that has led us to come into a coaching situation in the first place? We as a coach also guide development. And I think this ties back to many of the items that we mentioned on the last slide, that we provide guidance and positive models to help others develop in their service in scouting. We seek suggestions for improving performance. So we're going to work with an individual as we coach to say, what can we do? How can we help them help themselves to succeed? We collaboratively create development plans. Boy, and that's a callback to the unit service plan for sure. We work together with somebody, not just at the unit service plan, but with them to, what are we going to do? Because we're going to want to follow up and see how things are going. And then finally, we foster developmental relationships. I mentioned at the first of this slide that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We need to show that we care. We want to help people feel valued and included and part of the solution. Ideally, never part of the problem, but help them to be part of the solution, help them feel confidence that they can do it and that we'll be there for them. So we're going to talk some more about that a little later here in the course and through the coaching mindset. But as we do these things, we clarify the performance, we provide the feedback, and the other items that we've talked about, when done well, it can transfer the knowledge to the individual. We can empower them to do better. We can increase their motivation. We can get them excited to, as they see success in doing what they're doing in scouting, they see it, they feel a sense of accomplishment, and we can coach and help them get there. But if done poorly, unfortunately, it can waste time and valuable resources, and can even create a hostile environment. So we need to be aware of that, cognizant of that, and be careful when we're coaching. So let's look at some times that coaching might be needed. Okay, and I'm just going to say to my class helpers, I'm not watching the chat. So like I said, call me out if we need something. All right, so let's talk about when to consider coaching. Because in all of our relationships and interactions, there's going to be opportunities for coaching. We'll touch on that later. But particularly as a commissioner, when we're with a unit or in another, or a chartered organization or other situation, there are some times when coaching may be very appropriate and needed. A good example is when the first bullet point, when someone needs encouragement in a difficult task. There might be an opportunity to provide some coaching and encouragement there to help them feel empowered to accomplish that task. Another a need for coaching is when the need for an answer or solution is not immediate. This is actually a great time to coach. When a unit, there's a situation that needs to be dealt with, and they really aren't sure how to deal with it. They don't know what the answer is. Then collaborative coaching with them is a great way to drive to a solution. And then finally, when a problem needs to be solved. If there's an issue or a problem and it needs to be addressed so it does not negatively affect the unit. Those are all situations that might be good times to consider coaching. So who can benefit from coaching? I want to say everyone, and that is true. We really can benefit from coaching. Listed here: new leaders, experienced leaders, committee members, and chartered organizations. I think I'm a big proponent when working with units that they nurture that relationship with the chartered organization. I think there is too many units don't take advantage of that, nurturing that relationship and the strength and support that they can get from a chartered organization. But oftentimes the chartered organization aren't aware of their role that they play. And that's something that we as commissioners can help coach and provide information to help establish that relationship or to strengthen it. And then obviously within the scouting unit and scouting organization, a variety of leaders and others can benefit from coaching. So we're going to take a look at the 5 Bs of coaching. Now, when we're coming to coach, it's very important that we keep in mind these 5 Bs. And I think those of us, and I think we all have at one time or another, been in a coaching situation when we've needed to coach somebody, even if we haven't mentally thought to ourselves, oh, this is a coaching situation, I need to do this. But we need to keep in mind these 5 Bs. The first one, as we can see on the slide, is to be authentic. No one wants someone who comes up with a fake sense of interest. People can sniff that out immediately. They're going to know that you don't really care, and if you're just there out of duty. So we need to be authentic. We want to be genuinely interested in them and in helping them. We're not some remote imperial advisor swooping in from on high to judge them. That's not the role we're playing. We're really playing the role more of a partner, and in that coaching relationship to help them and to encourage them. We want to show that through keeping our commitments, walk the talk, and always telling the truth. And we're going to talk some more about that in later slides. The second principle, or the second B, is to be open. That means we need to be warm, non-judgmental, truthful, and empathetic. It should characterize all of our interactions, face-to-face, email, phone, and other interactions. We need to be open and not closed-minded when we're approaching a coaching situation. We need to be ongoing. And this, I think, is very important. Coaching isn't a one and done. We are, as we coach an individual, we're focusing on goals. I mentioned earlier, we're focusing on the future state, where we would like to help this individual move to, or the unit move to. And so we want to be engaged in that throughout the process. We're looking to enable these individuals to continue growing personally and in scouting, to continue to gain skills and capabilities to make them successful or help them to be successful. We need to build on strengths. As a coach, we know that we want to and are going to need to address weaknesses, address problems. But this principle states that it's much better to build on strengths when we're coaching an individual. Let's start with what they do right, what's going well. And as we do that, we empower that individual, we help them to feel capable and confident. We say, look what you've accomplished these things. So how can we apply that then to X, whatever that is, whatever the situation is? And they'll feel empowered coming into that and be a much more ready participant to help address and be part of the solution to address the issue that we need to coach them on. And then finally, the last B of a coach is to be confidential. A successful coaching relationship depends on trust. Individuals may share with us their weaknesses, their concerns, and we don't need to be sharing that information around. Outside of specific situations where we may discover items that we know through the Guide to Safe, or the Youth Protection and Guide to Safe Scouting, that need to be elevated, outside of those items, we should guard that confidentiality so that people can feel confident in sharing with us, especially those weaknesses and their fears. As we do that, we will strengthen and build that relationship with them. So those 5 B's of coaching, something we definitely want to keep in mind as we're engaging in coaching with leaders. So why are these skills important? Coaching is an effective strategy for developing someone's skills, their knowledge, and abilities while boosting their confidence and performance. Effective coaching can help others manage the challenges and issues before they evolve into worse problems. It's important to note that coaching is not corrective action. It's designed to engage people with solutions that they have identified rather than those that may have been imposed by another. It's a proven approach to the identification and achievement of goals through accountability, empowerment, and engagement. And through the development of coaching skills, that's us. As we develop these skills, we can provide timely guidance and feedback. I talked earlier, when you're working with kids, that needs to be quick. It needs to be now so that it can be acted on before it becomes a problem. And we can also guide and support others to excel in their current role and move into higher skills and knowledge and levels. And we want to encourage that, not just coach for the now, but coach for the future. A good coach in sports is never just focused on the current game, that they are focused on building the team to the long haul. They're going to go to the championships. And so that's important to us as well in scouting, is we're focused on coaching and developing leaders to develop strong scouting units and encourage these people to grow in their scouting careers. So 7 essential questions that we need to ask during coaching, that as we do these 7 questions, we will be able to coach effectively. Now I'm going to share here. I've got the handout. We'll be sending this handout out. What I would like is to have someone read. I need 7 volunteers. Let's put it that way. Can I have a different volunteer read each question and the description of it? Because you've heard a lot from me already. And Donnie, it looks like I've got a hand raised, so I'm going to stop for just a second now that I just noticed the hand.
Oh, I was volunteering.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much then. Donnie, would you take question 1 and then read the description out of that for us?
Question 1, what is on your mind? A good opening line can make all the difference. Just ask Charles Dickens, the Star Wars franchise, or any guy in the bar. This kickstart question starts fast and gets to the heart of the matter quickly. It cuts to what's important while sidestepping state agendas and small talk.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And this is important. Have you ever been in a situation where you come in and you start with the small talk, and the longer the small talk goes on, the harder it is to broach the subject of why you're really there to coach the individual. And so something that's really good is a good opening question. So what's on your mind, or what concerns do you have? Something that is going to direct an individual right away to start looking at the problem or problems. There may be other things that come up during this discussion that we may need to have additional coaching. But a great question to get things started. Thank you. Can I have someone else read question 2 in the description?
I'll read it.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
And what else? The question keeps the flame of curiosity burning. And what else? May seem like 3 small words, but it actually the best coaching question in the world. That's because someone's first answer is never the one answer, and rarely the best answer. There are always more answers to be found and possibilities to be uncovered. Equally important, it slows down the question asker's advice monster. That part of every manager that wants to leap in, take over, and give advice, be an expert, or solve the problem.
Thank you. I love this question. The and what else? And what else? I had an opportunity several years ago to serve an ecclesiastical position. And as I would counsel with individuals, I found that the really important stuff never came up until maybe the last 5 or 8 minutes that I was chatting with them. And so that is something, this and what else, as Tom read to us, rarely is the first thing that comes out in response to question 1, what's on your mind. Rarely is that really the core of the problem. So the and what else question helps dive in further, helps peel back that onion. And I love the last part. It slows down the question asker's advice monster. I hope now, I've been married, over 30 years, but I've tried to learn this. My wife said, sometimes, I don't want a solution. I just want someone to listen to me. And that's been a rough lesson or hard lesson to learn, because sometimes that advice monster comes out and I want to just come in and solve the problem. And that, for us, all of us, may be a situation we see an immediate solution, say, oh, if you just do X, Y, and Z, then you can solve your problem. But that's not the goal of coaching. The goal is coaching is to help the individual we're coaching to come to that point. So great question, the and what else question. We're going to address that some more in the next slide. Question 3, can I get a volunteer for that?
I can do that one.
Awesome. Thanks, Frederick.
What's the real challenge here for you? This is the focus question. It gets to the essence of the issue at hand. This question diffuses the rush to action, which has many people in organizations busily and cleverly solving the wrong problems. This is the question to get you focused on solving the real problem, not just the first problem. The first 3 questions combine to form a powerful script for any coaching scenario: performance review, formal or water cooler casual conversation. Start fast and strong, provide the opportunity for the conversation to deepen, and then bring things into focus with the next questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Frederick. I love that. It kind of discards the symptoms Sometimes people will bring up symptoms of a problem. And so the real challenge, what's the real challenge? That helps. Again, we're trying to narrow in and help them find the core issue. So question 4, and go volunteer for that.
I got it.
All right, thanks, Don.
This is the foundation question. It's trickier than you think to answer, and many disagreements or dysfunctional relationships will entangle with this simple but difficult exchange. Here's what I want. What do you want? It's a basis for an adult relationship with those you work with, and a powerful way to understand what's at the heart of things.
I thank you, Don. I appreciate that. And I love this question. So at the end, we've got a problem. It is awesome to say, well, what do you want? It helps individuals internalize that. Well, what do I want? Do I want this problem solved, or do I want out? It really helps us dig and focus. It's foundational. Someone for question 5.
I got that one.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
How can I help? It might come as a surprise that sometimes a commissioner's desire to be helpful can actually have a disempowering effect on the person being helped. This question counteracts that in 2 ways. First, it forces the other person to make a clear request by pressing them to be specific about what they want or need. Second, the question works as a self-management tool to keep you curious and keep you purposefully hands-off. It prevents you from leaping in and solving things that you think people want you to do.
Excellent. Thank you. It reinforces that we're there to help without us getting in their way. I think it's a great question that we want to do that. And I love how it says that sometimes a commissioner's desire to be helpful can actually have a disempowering effect. We talked in our last, the course that I've attended on the new unit commissioner, that we're there to help, not to run the program for them. We don't ever want to get in their way. We want to empower unit leaders and others to be able to do their positions rather than do it for them. So great question there. Question 6.
I'll take it.
Thanks, John.
Question 6. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? If you're someone who feels compelled to say yes to every request or challenge, then this question is for you. Many of us feel overwhelmed and overcommitted. We've lost our focus and spread ourselves too thin. That's why you need to ask this strategic question. A yes without an attendant no may be an empty promise.
Okay. So when I was first taught this course a few years ago, that question hit home to me. I mean, how many of us, I think we could all raise our hand, how many of us fit that overwhelmed, overcommitted, spread too thin? In scouting, we want to help. We want to go and do, but I think this is a key question to ask someone that we're coaching, a unit leader or others, that says, so if you're saying yes to this, what else are you saying no to? And those things they say no to could be family commitments. It could be other scouting needs. They're going to have to pull back. There's only 24 hours in a day, and you can only fit so much in a day. And so I really think that this question is very important in a coaching situation to make sure that we ask, so that they realize, I love at the end, it says, a yes without an attendant no may be an empty promise. I mentioned that I was in an ecclesiastical position several years ago, and I would far rather someone ask this question and tell me no, rather than say yes and then not follow through. And I think that applies in business and other areas as well. And we just help them to recognize that. Finally, the question 7. If I can get someone to take that.
I'll read that.
All right, thanks, John.
Your closer is the learning question. It helps finish the conversation strong rather than just fading away. Asking what was most useful for you helps to reinforce learning and development. They identify the value in your conversation, something they're likely to miss otherwise, and you get the bonus of useful feedback for your next conversation. You're also framing every conversation with you as a useful one, something that will build and strengthen your reputation.
Excellent. Thank you, John. And I like that as well. When we're coming into coaching, what did you get out of this? What was most useful? It's feedback for us, and it helps frame the conversation out and bring it to a close. These 7 questions, as the slide points out, the 7 essential questions, as we coach other individuals, we coach leaders, all of these questions provide a flow for coaching. And as we implement these questions in our coaching will become more effective. All right, so I said I was going to come back to the question, the number 2, and what else? So the question is so important as we're trying to drive to the core problem or the core situation that we're here to coach about. 3 simple words is all they are, and then it brings up so much more. It helps the individual dig further, to analyze further the first answer they give. It encourages more insights, more self-awareness, more possibilities. And so there's 3 reasons why this has the impact it does. 1, as additional options are discovered that can lead to better solutions. We mentioned in the other slide that rarely is the first answer the best answer. Getting through identifying additional answer and more options can help us identify better solutions. It helps us to rein ourselves in. We talked about the answer monster, and that's me. It gives us time to pull back and let an individual think about and express themselves. And it buys ourselves time. It helps us analyze better and see a little more clearly the point of view of the person that we're working with. Helps us formulate a better coaching experience as we work together with this individual, this leader. So remembering, of course, that the first answer is rarely the best one, and that we will get to the best one together as we continue to dig in and ask about this. And when we use this, let's see here. So the 4 practical tips when we're doing this. First tip is to stay curious, stay genuine, and what else shouldn't be just a rote. And what else, any of us could do it. The answer says, what else? And what else, that can quickly become unproductive. We should stay curious and genuine in this when we're asking about that. Even though it's a fabulous question, we shouldn't become detached from it. As a general rule, people in coaching situations ask this question too few times. It's easy to want to move on to the solution. It's much better to ask additional times. So something that we can do in coaching situations to master the and what else is to try it out one more time, see how it works. As a general guideline, we should ask this question at least 3 times, but rarely more than 5. And that's going to be driven partially by the coaching situation we're in, obviously, the person we're coaching, and as well as the situation that we're looking to coach on. Sometimes the situational coaching or in the moment may not be as in-depth as something that a planned appointment that we're coming in and talking about an issue in a unit. But we want to make sure and use this question appropriately and sufficiently to help dig in to the core of the problem. Point 3, recognize success. There's going to come a point when someone's going to say, there isn't anything else. Hopefully that's not the first time we ask, and what else? That's rarely the end, but there is going to come a point when there isn't anything else, and that's totally okay. We need to recognize and say, okay, we've achieved success with the and what else, and it's a response that we really actually are seeking, because the individual is going to say, well, there isn't anything. We've drilled down to the core of this, and we've identified the end of this line of inquiry. And then as point 4, move on when it's time. If we can feel the energy going out of a conversation, it's time to wrap up. Even if we didn't get our at least 3 times asking the question in, if the energy's gone out of it in the interest, it is time to move on. If we've got
Rick,
5 answers, yes.
Sorry, a couple of messages here, chats that I'd like to include real quick from Mike Jaggle. He said that question number 6 rephrases, what can't you do? They should identify the other key positions that others are or should be doing. And then another comment was, ask, what are you doing well in your opinion? If it's not actually successful, you may have identified an issue.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Mention if we've got 3 to 5 answer, we've got great progress. The and what else? So let's say by example, if someone has told us a certain course of action that they plan on taking, we could challenge that individual. And what else do you plan to do? Or maybe it's like in the quote here, what else couldn't you do if you do that? I think those are great ways to use the and what else question in various situations to make sure that all the ramifications are identified and the core of the problem is addressed. Notice that also we talked about what's the real challenge for you. That was a question. I can't remember 4 or 5 in the 7 questions. The real challenge. So this is a great opportunity to also use the and what else. If the challenge that they offer up is timid or is vague, we probably haven't identified the challenge, and it's a great opportunity then to also use the and what else. And what else is a challenge here for you to help identify the real challenge that might be facing somebody that we're trying to coach. So let's talk about the coach mindset. The reason for the lighthouse, the image here with the coach, you can see clarify, observe, ask, collaborate, and help, is that coaches help individuals steer away from danger, just like a lighthouse. Now, we talked earlier that coaching is something we want to engage in to help an individual when we've identified concerns or issues before they become deeper problems. We want to help coach and steer and help them avoid the problems, just like a lighthouse. The foundation of the lighthouse is based on the relationship. Now, there's other courses here in Commissioner College today that talk about building those relationships. So critical. We mentioned at the start, someone doesn't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So if there is not a relationship, our ability to coach is limited. As we build that foundation, our ability to coach is going to be improved. So we're going to talk about each one of these steps or the pillars on the coach lighthouse. First one is clarify. It's important when we're coaching that we clarify expectations, clarify the needs, and establish a level of trust. When expectations and needs are understood by both parties, the individual we're coaching as well as us, trust is built. We want to be clear on what we want to achieve both for ourselves and for those we coach. We need to be clear on that before we even come into a coaching situation. If we aren't, then it's hard to evaluate, did we actually achieve what we had hoped to? So clarify is the first step or the first pillar of our coaching mindset.
5-minute warning, Rick.
5 minute. Okay. I'm going to have to speed up. Thanks, Pedro. Observe. Through evaluation and inspection, through conversations, and through direct observation, such as ride-alongs or listening to them, attending unit meetings, we observe what's going on. We don't just look at results or the outcomes, but at the steps or conditions that lead to that. That helps us get a whole picture of what's going on so that we can more effectively coach. We need to ask. And when we ask, we engage our active listening skills. We ask questions about, we're present in the moment with them, we're not distracted, and we ask questions to get a better understanding about the status, which is how did we get here, the issue, what's the issue we're trying to look at, and the impact. As we address this issue, what changes are going to be affected? What are we going to do different, or what are we going to continue doing possibly coming out of a coaching situation? As we've identified the root cause, and we talk about during this how to move forward. Next step is to collaborate. We want to engage in trusted two-way conversations. We're going to continue to ask about the ideal state and where we intend going forward and follow up. These questions, where do we want to go, the future state, allows the individual we're coaching to help generate and develop a plan to improve or change or to address the underlying root cause that we've identified and that we're engaging in this coaching about. Finally, we want to help. This is foundational. We need to be supportive, authentic, consistent, confidential. We talked about those 5 B's of coaching. As a unit commissioner or any commissioner, we provide resources and we always follow up. These are key to coaching. And as we do this, we provide feedback that's supportive and constructive. So let's talk about a mindset. We've talked about the coaching. What's a mindset? A mindset is assumptions, methods, or notions that are held by one or more people. It could be someone's worldview or philosophy of life. It says a mindset may be so firmly established that it creates a powerful incentive within people or groups to continue to adopt or accept prior behaviors. So coaching, we have a coaching mindset that we have adopted to help us in our coaching with others. There are going to be 4 different types of scenarios that we may run into when we're coaching. Behavior scenarios, performance, maybe performance isn't up to par. Development coaching, new unit leaders specifically maybe need some coaching on training they can take or ways to development. And then finally, situational coaching. In the moment, when we notice something, we may need to pull someone aside and do some coaching. I'm briefly going to touch on each of these. Behavior coaching, some examples where we might run into these with leaders: consistently late, missed deadlines, easily distracted, maybe they're not wearing the uniform appropriately. Performance coaching, we can see those high performer, highly motivated to the point that they ostracize other leaders. Someone who is growing as a performer, maybe they're inconsistent or maybe they were successful but no longer are. Development coaching, I addressed that already. New leaders oftentimes, but even existing leaders may need that. And finally, situational coaching. It's impromptu. It focuses on timely, more reactive needs, and they're typically shorter. Those are the situations that we oftentimes will run into in coaching. As we engage in coaching, we involve the 5 B's and use the 7 questions. We can be effective coaches and help the leaders in scouting. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all of you and have a great